Welcome, everybody. This is FMA Discussion, and tonight is episode 169, and we're featuring Nino. And I am so excited. This guy's going to be talking about some great stuff, some stuff that has yet to be kind of covered in depth on some of the previous interviews we had on here. So he's going to talk about his journey, and also some aspect on the Moro Arts, his lens and views on current status quo in the FMA community, and all that good stuff. So, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Elric recommended you, and if coming from Elric, I had assumed this was legit, so thank you.
I would just like to say that I got my start in FMA with Elric, so it's interesting because I'm a product of both his explorations and mistakes. So it's probably been about close to 27 years of martial arts training. Maybe about 20, 21 years have been in FMA since then. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Lots of ups, downs, accidents, busted knuckles, being poked in the eyes with trainers. Like, it's stuff like that has happened a lot.
Yeah, and 21 years. So you, what age were you when you started?
So I started doing martial arts at around 10, 9 or 10. FMA probably about 16. And
so you were okay, all right.
And what was interesting was that when I had the experience of learning FMAs, I started learning from friends and family friends. So I never it's not like I joined a school at first and started paying dues. So it was people teaching me out of friendship or obligation, family friend, family member. So I've kind of had that experience, but also I'm a little separate, born and raised in the US, I wasn't born and raised in the Philippines. So, but I did have some of that traditional thing where a lot of times it wasn't a school, you were learning in backyards, you were learning in things. So, I've had the privilege of being mentored by a couple really good people, and it was very much, in some ways, very traditional, in some ways, new school. We're okay, you have protective gear; they're not going to hit your teeth. So unless you're wearing a helmet.
Okay. So folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from and hit that like button. Alvin, I did. So Alvin Navano was also one of his first teachers, Elric. That's man.
Yeah,
has had more influence than he liked to share.
I know.
We're gonna have to get Elric back on here. We're gonna have to find out what else he's been hiding. But so when you met, so kind of family and friends and all that. What was what's going on there?
Well, what's interesting, in growing up, my dad's generation, they were the Bruce Lee generation. He did combat judo. He did karate, kung fu. He didn't do Filipino martial arts. He did martial arts, but it wasn't cool. They weren't, aside from Roland Dantes being on, stick stuff. It was the Bruce Lee era. So beating up people with nunchaku and stuff like that.
Hey, Nino? Your green is, I can hear you and all that. Okay, it's cleared up now, but once in a while, green and a bunch of lines go across.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't affect your sound. It happened a few times. It just did it quick, but it only lasts a few seconds. I'm not sure. I couldn't even tell you what it's attributed to, actually.
Okay. Well, I'll have to take a look.
It's doing it right now, matter of fact.
Huh.
But again, it's not affecting your sound, and after a few seconds, it stops, and you're right, you're back now. So
so that might be a bit of a thing.
No. If it is, we'll work through it. I just wanted to. I'm not. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever seen this, and it's doing it now. So I don't even know what to attribute it to, honestly.
Okay.
But it's colored lines going across. Right now, it's still there. But now you're back, so I don't know.
So my dad did martial arts growing up. So it was interesting. He didn't do Filipino martial arts, even though he grew up in the Philippines. It was that was the thing that was in vogue, doing Chinese or Japanese martial arts growing up. So when growing up in the States, I did like Shotokan, but then meeting Elric, I was like, there's this whole world of martial arts from the Philippines. And yeah, like I kind of explored that. It was just kind of a way to, get in touch with my roots and just to learn more. And it's funny to see like, yeah, there's stuff that's really regional. And when I mentioned like one of the things we'll be talking about is colonialism too, is Dad's generation was like fascinated with like the foreign arts. They didn't want to study like the stuff that was homegrown. And that at least it was good to be exposed to a bunch of different stuff.
Okay, so it's really it's stuck now. I'm not sure what's going on. Like again, your sound quality is fine. It's just the lines going through.
Let me see if I can plug in. I have an Ethernet cable. I think I might be able to.
Okay.
Hopefully, I don't know if it's long enough.
I know, never a dull moment with technology.
Maybe I need to.
Audio, yeah, it is, Maestro, and the audio is perfect. Just
it's that's what I get for wanting to talk about Moro stuff publicly.
Oh, see, it's already coming out to curse you. See?
I'm also okay. There's no Ethernet cable for this thing. Never mind. I guess we'll have to deal with some of the video issues.
All right. Yeah. I mean, worst comes. I mean, we'll just because your internet connection's fine, right? It's definitely on the visual end because your audio is perfect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what else it could be. As far as that's the first time I've ever seen this. I can't even. I wish I could tell you like what it's due to.
Maybe it's just a reminder to like talk very specifically about closed door stuff.
Jeez. I'm almost thinking maybe if we try bring you back in, but I'm not saying that's going to do it, but it might be worth the try.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to X you out and have you come back in.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, folks. He's going to be coming back in. I've never, all my interviews, that's the first. I'm not even sure what that could be a result of. Colored lines going across the screen. If you're watching, yes, please tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. God. Well, when this happens, the test run goes really, really smooth, and then when you go to do an interview, something pops up. Hey there, Randy. He's coming back. I just had him X out, hoping maybe with him coming back in, maybe it was a glitch or something like that. There it is. Right.
Hey, Chris Caben. Oh, that guy's.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you guys know each other.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. I love his trainers. He's got great products. He's a really good dude. I saw his interview with you.
Yeah.
So
we had him on.
Check out Hog Mountain.
I know. I've been like just so busy lately. I've been dying to check out his stuff, and like it's just been like one thing after another. Then basically what I gotta do is just write it down and put it on a list of sorts, so I don't forget. It's still doing, but it looks like we're just gonna have to just push through it. That's all. As long as they can hear you. I mean, you are showing up. So, so when you met with so when you kind of learn like through, you weren't actually paying, you weren't like an official school or student. What were you learning basically via relatives and all that? Your first exposure to FMA, were they giving you just the basics? As far as was it blunt weapon translation?
Elric, when he started, he was teaching classes in both San Francisco and in Berkeley, and I remember learning. One of his bases was Combate, Eskrima, out of the Angels Disciples group.
Okay. You mentioned
like Stockton Eskrima, so Filipino American stuff. He had trained also, I believe, with Tatang in like the 90s, so there was a little bit of exposure to some stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't claim, to be like a pure KI guy myself. It's a beautiful art. It's wonderful art.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah.
Yeah, and then whatever Elric was able to bootleg from the Dog Brothers videos or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
He was the thing I enjoyed about Elric was that he wasn't really like money motivated. It's not like he was trying to, you know, become rich and famous off of this stuff.
I could see that based on his personality. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And yeah, he just liked exploring, and he quoted his sources, which was interesting. You know,
oh, that's nice.
That's really important, just because a lot of people, you know, they just keep it all a mystery, or they try to just claim. And he's just like, oh no, I've been studying this video, or I've been, you know, watching this footage. So
yeah, give credit where it's due. I like that as well. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that so I studied with him through high school, which was really interesting, like being a high school kid and going to like Gint's Club, like full contact stick sparring in somebody's fucking garage. Just
how'd you meet him?
Showing up to like Catholic school with welts, and I'm just like, I guess this is the thing that I'm doing.
So 16, how'd you meet him? Like, where'd you meet him?
So Elric was dating my sister for a while. They actually ended up getting married. So he you know, he was one of my in-laws for a number of years. So literally, like, you know, he was teaching like his like little brother kind of a thing.
Oh, are they? So are they? So your sister's over there? I mean, they're.
Yeah, no. They separated a while ago, but you know, they're friends still. So it was just pretty funny. Just meeting Elric that way. Becoming really good friends with his brother as well. Franz is one of my best friends.
Good guy too, huh?
Yeah, and yeah, just studying. I ended up also teaching a little bit on campus, just, you know, open air classes, training with Sunny Umpad a little bit when I was, I think, still in college. It's been so many years, right? That was like later, maybe around 2004, 2005. I also got some training. You probably see videos of him like all over the Visayan style Corto Cadena page, but Mario was in the Bay. Mario, yeah. So, yeah, he was just like all over the Bay. It's kind of weird just getting exposed to different stuff, different people going in and out of this open air class, like in Berkeley or in San Francisco. So just a lot of different weird stuff. You know, you might meet like a Harinao guy over here or somebody who's doing PTK. Yeah, just kind of an eclectic group.
Oh, wow. Oh, that must have made it interesting, though. I would enjoy that. You know, people there from different styles, and you're kind of getting to intermesh and see what everybody's doing. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
You know, how? So tell us about your experience with Maestro Sunny. I mean, like, what made him, in your eyes or lens, what made him so unique? Him and the style.
So, Sunny, yeah, just like with my perspective, he was somebody who was like an innovator. Like he was like a hermit, literally in his apartment in Alameda, spend hours every day just focusing on different stuff. His stuff is really precise, I think, in terms of footwork and timing, because he was a dancer. He literally left like martial arts a few years, like after doing Eskrima and Cebu, and then focused on dancing for a couple of years, then went back to martial arts.
Okay.
The thing that's interesting with his style, I think there's a lot of refinement, but I think to get the best usage out of it, it's better to have like a background in some sort of athletic movement or fighting, like if you box or if you know how to wrestle already. Yeah, because there's a lot of, he was like a new school guy because he got injured, or, you know, he suffered for his learnings. So he was trying to make it safer, but still have like a high degree of refinement. So, yeah, if you could kind of bang already and then you wanted to get cleaned up, I think that's really good. I remember one story, like learning from Sunny. He was like, oh yeah, like your arm stuff is good, but like, you know, footwork you need to work on. So one of the ways that he had me, I think when I was in my early 20s, to kind of clear the center line was he tied a rope to like a throwing knife. So he laid it out like on the floor, and he was like, okay, what I want you to do is pull the knife and then like swivel out of the way. Like you need to like give way for.
Oh wow! So it's coming when it's coming. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember that like very clearly. He had a lot of different training tools and different, but I
Mm.
was like still really like relatively green. So I wasn't like one of his like advanced students. You know, I was like straight up like a beginner learning with it. But I would say he was the kind of guy who could like find some like sheet metal in the street and make like a training tool or a knife out of it. Like he could do that. He had that kind of craftsmanship.
Yeah, his craftsman was just off the top, huh?
So I think I still have like a trainer from him where he like carved up an old Pakistani like buck clone, and he redesigned the handle. The one thing that I would say is like Sonny liked to make his own tools, so he didn't like antiques because they were too heavy for like his system or like too unwieldy. So if people want to learn like more traditional, like, you know, very like traditional sword arts, yeah, you probably have to look, you know, different. Not to say that the VSCK guys can't move around with stuff like that, but Sonny definitely had his preferences in terms of tools. Even like his long swords felt like long knives. That's how they handled. So yeah, everyone's got their preferences in terms of handling characteristics and different things like that. But yeah, I think there's some good, like a lot of good to be had out of that. But I also think, you know, you have to balance it out with other stuff as well. Cause, you know, Sonny didn't do like, you know, knee bars or chokes or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, just something you mentioned of, you know, about how having a supplemental training, like, you know, one of the things, just interviewing a few people that from the system and spoke on him, I totally get what you mean. I could definitely see the merit having something like an athletic background or something you're doing in conjunction with him, or if you were training with him, or a previous thing that you're doing that would definitely help. I could definitely see that by just the movement that's expected of him in that system. I could definitely see where that comes into play and helps out, you know?
Yeah. And like flowing and playing is different from fighting, you know? Like this is like a learning exercise, right? You know, it's like a penchaxilat, right? You've got like the arts and the application, and then you have or the arts and you have like the application, like the fighting.
Right.
In some ways, like when I look at Sonny stuff, that kind of gives me like a similar feel, but I know some really traditional guys will just be like, nah, you know, they're different. They're separate. Like, that's kind of like the vibe I get. Not necessarily like saying like it's textbook, but
right.
But
yeah, right. But so, wow. I mean, so what about like what can you tell? I mean, because you know, like I said, I had a few previous people on in regards to him, and they kind of said, I mean, he was very unique, you know, as an individual, just like really, you know, just low key. I guess didn't like the fame, fortune, but you know what else?
One of the most I would say most amazing things that he was like an expert at was like medium to short blade, like the type of flow that he had with like a knife is like there's a craft to it. Like you could see people like I see people like nowadays like on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, they have a good feel for it. I don't know about their applications, but like they've had the tool in their hands, like it moves a certain way. The familiarity with it. So like I could even mention somebody like Danilo, like that Italian knife guy.
Yeah.
He's got like a good feel like with a knife in his hands. Like who knows? Like I haven't trained with him firsthand, but like he's got like that type of like, you know, you could see the amount of time and hours he's put into that.
100%.
But yeah, Sonny specifically, it was almost like very surgical and precise. Almost like he could like fillet stuff like really quickly. And there's like a proprioception, like the tool length and limb length, and then interacting with the different parts of his body. It was very precise. So like the way like the knives, you know, can move like all around without like cutting yourself or running out of space. So he would never run out of space, even in a short distance.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I forget who it was. If they meant what you just like how he would tailor things based on arm, like that was mentioned before, something that he took, obviously advocated and took it seriously. Wow. So how much time did you spend? I mean, like, how much time were you fortunate enough to spend with him?
I was going there with Franz. Me and Franz were going there around at the same times. So I don't know if it was like a year and a half, because that period all kind of blurs together. Like it was like college. I was doing teaching courses, and then sometimes, going to Sonny's. But like, I can't say like I was one of his regular students, because he had a core group of like senior students, and then he was just kind of branching out and exploring. And I was like that second, third wave,
Okay.
But what happened later is I've even done some training with like Jay, right? Jay Pugao. And then I trained one of my mentors now is one of the senior students of studies. I won't mention his name because he's a really private person, so he doesn't really like
no worries.
But his background is boxing, so that's why it kind of meshed together.
I can see that, right? Get a good foundation of that. Yeah,
footwork, application, dynamic movement, conditioning. He's not on Facebook, but shout out to him.
So are you still in contact with Jay once in a while?
Not so much, because he has like his own school and practice. I train with him a little bit. Jay and Greg, they're doing their own thing, their online courses.
I guess we're getting some momentum.
It's tough too. It's like, how do you teach people how to fight online? Like, you can't really. I have opinions about it. It's like, it's really tough. Like, people have to figure out their own needs. Okay, maybe there's a size discrepancy. Maybe they got health concerns. Maybe they have a really specific thing, like their lifestyle. It's like, do they transport cash, or do they have to travel at night? So, and it's funny because I think one of the virtues of training with Elric was being exposed to a lot of different stuff, because you never know what you like or what you have a knack for unless you actually get it in front of you. It's like, I didn't know that I would like short staff, or I would like Aspari Daga, or, until I actually got exposed to it. Because it's one of those things that you would never get, put in your face normally. And that's the same thing. Maybe you have a knack for grappling or striking with your hands, but if you never get exposed to it, or if your school or training doesn't do that, you may be like fitting yourself, square peg into a round hole.
You'll be shortchanging yourself in your journey. I mean, without, for 100%, absolutely. Like, one of the things when I first got an FMA, I wasn't really given short and long and short until later years, and I wish I was, or I wish I took it upon myself to kind of seek it out. You know what I mean? And all that.
What's interesting is so around that time, like I think maybe after Sonny was getting.
Hopefully he'll be back. There's definitely obviously visually going on with his thing, but he was able to come back in right away. So yes, if you're watching, tell us we got Alvin, yes, Randy, Chris, Elric, Marindina, and Frank. Hey, Frank. I talk about Wednesday. Tom Sotis is coming back on with Darren Friesen, both of them together. So that should be really exciting. They both have similar views on the martial arts industry, and it's going to be basically interesting to have them both. And here he is. Oh, yeah, we lost you, for a bit too. Yeah.
So, after training with Sonny is also when I met another one of my mentors, Style, CEO, Combate, Eskrima, Orehenal. So, in some ways, he's like very traditional. And what was interesting is it's helpful when you start off, when you learn like a foundational base style, whether it's boxing or Sarah or something, like you have some sort of framework where you can draw off. Like you get you get a certain amount of proficiency. Style in some ways as an Eskrima teacher is almost like a boxing coach. Like there's a similar vocabulary, like these are the 5 punches, but he did kind of customize stuff to the student. So like even like, like a boxing coach would be like, this guy has enormously powerful hooks or swings or something like that. He should be an inside fighter. Or he would also do that, like people would learn different stuff. Like, okay, this guy would specialize in staff. This person might do double stick. And then they would all have to like talk with each other. But they would each have their own like niche. So everybody was kind of like taught different tools and maybe different styles. And then they would have to kind of like trade notes.
I think that's neat. This way they're kind of, whether they like it or not, but at least they're being exposed to it. And then they can make a conscious decision, I guess, afterwards, whether that's something they want to pursue deeply or more deeper, I don't know. I think that's kind of neat, actually.
I think it's a good approach too, because everybody's personality is a little different. So is this person a technique or finesse head, or is this person kind of like a caveman? And what do they actually balance each other out? So so I think that was really, really useful, really helpful. Style, an amazing martial artist. He's also somebody who looks at a lot of like different regional weapons and tools. He knows his stuff. He quotes his sources. He does his research. And he doesn't want to see, he wants to see the spirit of it preserved, and he doesn't want to see things diluted in a certain way, because he thinks like you can lose the sauce if it gets a little too.
Yeah, you lose the essence, and it gets. So what? All right. So as far as the audience is concerned, because I gotta be honest with you, I'm fascinated with the Moro Arts. I'm just fascinated how they don't want to be thrown under FMA umbrella. They're different, and I get it. I definitely can appreciate that. But in your, you have an exposure to them and all that. What makes them unique to you? And secondly, what is basically under the umbrella of Moro Arts? And Kuntao, Silat. I mean, what else can you do there?
I would have to like preface this as well, just because like I only know like my little section of stuff, so I'm not. So I can't speak on behalf of the Yakan or Maguindanao or whatever. Like I can only speak about a little bit. Well, so what makes them distinct is the metaphor that I like to use is like it's cooking. Like if we look at martial arts as like cooking, it's something you could do to sustain yourself. You can use it to feed your family or like, but at least with the Bunks Moro, like the Moro Arts, it's like a family recipes. I've been blessed to actually taste some of the family recipes and to be able to be taught certain things. Okay, I can make certain things. What we're looking at too is like there's a lot of different viewpoints in the Philippines. It's an archipelago, right? Everyone's regional. Everyone has their own interests. There's an anti-colonial bent, which I can appreciate, where like people are like, hey, let's go bring this back to like, native culture. But then in some ways you are throwing away different parts of history or different types of regionality. So it's like somebody could be like, I want all Filipinos to get along, right? And it's like writing a cookbook and they're like, hey, I want to include your family recipe in my cookbook for all Filipinos. And somebody's like, fuck you. It's my family recipe. I don't know you. So sorry for like the profanity.
No. Point taken. No worries.
Yeah. So that's like how contentious it could be. It's like somebody asking for your family recipes. It's like, oh, you're trying to learn my grandmother's apple pie recipe that she spent 70 years perfecting because you want to sell it for a fucking seminar.
Right. I can see that. I can understand that.
And it's hard to tell, like, is it just another person who's well-intentioned, or is it somebody who's just another colonizer outside?
Right. How do you know? Right. How would you know? How would they know?
For me, like, I've loved doing the martial arts stuff, and I knew, like, at a certain point in time, like, they were doing some closed-door material I wasn't privy to. And I'm like, I'm not greedy. I've been shown so much. Like, I don't need extra. Like, I have a full plate. Like, I need somebody else's material. But after a few years, and I was just like looking at different stuff and just being really grateful, like not wanting to worm my way into somebody's confidence, more stuff got shown to me, because it's not like this person is no longer like an outsider. And there's like kind of like a trust nowadays. Like I might be like the uncle that shows a family recipe to a family member down the line. That's the kind of thing. That's what it feels like. It's been no fees. It's not been like I do a seminar thing. It's been, I'm like extended family or a trusted member of the family. So that is the difference. There's other arts who might, it may be like that, like different types of Eskrima, but at least that family aspect is what it's felt like. And I can't speak on the entire history. I don't know all the clan obligations or the rivalries, but at least I know who are the family members I'm, attached to, who I'm, who I check in with, who I take care of.
Okay. So with also, I mean, with your exposure to the Moro Arts, and again, this is just me, my observations. By no means I'm saying I'm right. So I'm just commenting from an outside lens looking in. Yeah. It just seems like when I look at their blade stuff and all that, there just seems something unique and special to them. And I just, like I say that, and kind of what based on just from a historical perspective, like really trying to research KI, and when I look at Illustrissimo, for instance, I look at he was like the first true blend of basically FMA, Spanish influence, however you want to coin it, and Moro from his time spent down there, when he went off down there. And to me, that's what makes the art, I think, so unique, like that infusion of both, or the fusion, I should say, of both.
The easiest way I could talk about it too is like, if I talk about like Kung Fu. So in some ways, there are a lot of arts, at least in Kung Fu, that are preserved, but there's a difference between the form of it and then like the conditioning. So for some family arts in Kung Fu, right, you would know the form that would be taught, in the school or whatever, but the thing that you need to power it, that would make everything work, would be the conditioning sets that they would keep for the family. Okay. So in terms of like power conditioning or whatever, in some ways you could kind of swap out engines for certain things. Like it could be appropriate. Like you're doing like a hot rodding, like where you may have, you may have like footwork in boxing, but you may have like flexibility from like Taekwondo or something. So you can kind of bridge them together. I can't speak on KI because I really appreciate the art, but I didn't have hands-on time with the old man. Elric, Franz, Alex Ursha, style. They had hands-on experience with the old man, so they know what he acted like, how he touched things, how he interacted. So when I hear stories, I can kind of imagine it. It's like hearing stories about somebody's grandpa, but I have like a certain distance removed just because like I didn't know the old man.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. So here's and again, it's just outside looking in. I don't claim. I only claim to know what I know, and certainly I don't know what I don't know. But there just seems something special about the Moro Arts. Like, did you what resonates with you? Like, what was your attraction to them?
I don't know if it was so much an attraction in that I was entrusted with something after a while.
Oh, okay.
It is more of an obligation. I love the movement and stuff, but I think you can't separate the movements from the intent. Like the fact that this is a lot of times, like if we look at martial arts, doing fight training oftentimes is like a selfish endeavor. You're seeking the fight. You're trying to get better for yourself, becoming a better, more effective fighter.
Okay.
When you start looking at what does it mean when martial arts is just beyond yourself, what, like if you need to protect family, if you need to, help other people, I think that is when you start to get into the spirit of it rather than the mechanics, which is interesting. A lot of people have different mechanics. You can't separate the intent, the conditioning, and the tactics because they're interwoven.
Okay.
So to have one of those like off would be to have it like misaligned. It's like flubbing itself.
Yeah, no. Well put. Yeah. I mean, again, there's something special there. I think. Yeah. And I don't blame them like for not wanting to be thrown on the umbrella FMA. Like I don't blame them. I don't think they should.
And I think the families should be able to say how the family recipes are used and how they're categorized.
Yeah, fair enough. I think so. Yeah.
People who are outsiders, they may have opinions, but they don't really have a say.
Yeah, I know, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Alric, but it would be it's funny because Alric, the videos I'm seeing from Brandon and the visit he's got in the 80s, the way he moved to what's on currently Sasco on YouTube now, what a world of difference. I'm telling you, oh my gosh, I'm just so lucky to be exposed to that. But I know you would definitely you would get it. But yeah, and who we got? Oh, John Kuspis, Amok. All right.
Yeah.
And, I think looks like your sister. Hi, bro. And all right. So, all right. So the system Combate Eskrima Orehenal, is that something that you created or a few of you created?
So, Combate Eskrima Orehenal is Styles' system. We have a public version that we teach. I know, like my friend and my brother Chris Copeland, he's taught like seminars about it. So it's like it's kind of like I said, like keeping the intent and the spirit of stuff still alive. So our public system is very much like it's based on like fencing and footwork, but then there's also an element that has like mitt work. Like there's a boxing and fencing influence. But there's a lot of stuff hidden in there just because Style is a tricky man. And I'm just like, I know what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
So I've seen this in a lot of martial arts. Like if the foundation is good, if you keep delving into the foundation, there's more seeds and more plants that come out of it.
Yeah, well put. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like, okay, so a combination thereof. So is that kind of what you were kind of present day involved in working on teaching or whatever?
Yeah. Like when I do, classes for the community, I do some CG, some Combate General. I do some boxing training and then some other stuff as well. But it's mainly because, like I said before, you need to give somebody at least some sort of consistent base to operate off of.
Gotcha.
And I think what's really important is conditioning as well, to train to whatever extent your body's capable of, just so you know, like the limits. And I don't think increased levels of fitness have hurt anybody unless you overdo it. Yeah.
I don't think so either. Right. Unless you're, you're doing, like you said, overexertion on something or whatever. But, so what is your, so as far as you teaching it, like you said, you kind of give it to the community. Is that?
Yeah. For, COVID really kind of messed us up, but we were doing like at least a free community class at the Bai Nihon Center. It was like once a week. And that was in the South of Market area. Now we're doing stuff like more open air training, but that's maybe like every few weeks, every couple weeks. We're trying to get back into this space. There's a new community space called Capua Gardens, and they're hosting stuff like Greg and Jay's classes. And yeah, part of it too is like with the increased interest in like Asian Americans trying to learn like martial arts stuff. It's like we should have stuff out there available to the public so people at least know. If they can't train, at least maybe they could try to find it for themselves or see who they can trust. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you'll get back in the swing of things with everybody and all that. And so now, as far as the system under Style is he teaching any of the Moro stuff, or is he kind of keep that?
No. So Combate General is, stick, sword, espari, daga, maybe like long stick. Like you can map it to a lot of different weapons, but there's like, it's a difference. Like you can cook for somebody, but it's not like teaching them a family recipe. And that's one of the things, like you can't buy it or sell it, and you shouldn't. Like it would just dilute it. One of the things we have to think about too is people's motivations for both learning and teaching things. So if you've got a mortgage or if you got like studio bills to pay, there's going to be a part of you that's going to be like, I'm running out of material. There's never going to be a place where like you train somebody to a certain point and then they have to like live their own lives. You might be a little conflicted, or that's one of the things, like, you know, morality. How do you balance it out? Like I have a day job. Like I can like talk about certain stuff. I could just be like, I think that's close enough. You should be able to take care of yourself. Maybe do some boxing, do some MMA, run some hills. You should be generally okay. But with some like I think I was mentioning, there was like a kind of some people have an anti-colonial bent. Sometimes they just want to fleece foreigners of money because like fuck it, you know. They got money to travel. Give me the cash.
No, I know. Yeah. And I mean, right, for good, you know, regardless of intentions, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, you know, I get it. Yeah.
And then you've got people flying in who are like, man, I guess these Sistema guys got a new system of knife defense now.
Yeah.
So,
man, so from your point of view or your lens, I mean, or opinion, what's your take on sparring and pressure testing?
I think it's good. I think like I have a like mad respect for like the stick guys. I also think there's kind of like a sweet spot of when your recovery is at its highest and when you've got enough like physical growth. If you work with your hands or you work on a laptop, you know, the busted knuckles start to take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. So it's
the older you get, it gets old.
And you have to think. I like to think about longevity. So if this is martial arts self-protection and you're not doing this to like make a living, you don't want to like, you know, ruin your engine or like empty out your gas tank completely. Yeah. So like if you like, you may be called to use your skills at any time, right? But if both of your hands are busted and you need to defend yourself, like you have to, you're put in a bad situation.
No, right. It's like, yeah, I like that. Especially when you get older, you have to start making. I think when you get older, some of those decisions need to be more conscious. Like you need to, you know what I mean? Like, you know, do I want to risk the broken kneecap and full contact stick fighting when there's other people relying on me financially? You know what I mean? You know,
you have to be realistic about these things too. It's like, are you LARPing? Is this live action role playing, and you want to wear like a 8 knife rig, or are you more likely to die of high blood pressure, diabetes, or fucking gout? Like you have to be like
the rigs. Hey, come on now. What's wrong with the rigs? Come on.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I like the Ninja Turtles too growing up, but sometimes you just got to be like, I'm being a little silly about these things. If you're going to carry around like 8 knives, right? Maybe you could use some of that weight for like a firearm or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's I was part of a couple systems. I mean, I'm no longer with them, but early in my career, and I'll kind of leave it at that. Yeah.
Well,
you know, but yeah.
In terms of like being practical and like making choices, right? Like open carry is a thing, right? But I think everything that we do, we should look at the advantages and disadvantages, because if you open carry, or if you have to open carry, it tells people what handedness you are, right-handed, left-handed.
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point.
What angles they can blindside you at, how they can foil your draw.
Yeah.
So I would prefer something like concealed carry because it's less of a tell. But unless you're like carrying around a rig, or like you're, you know, you're a security professional, you know, guard, private security, it's like, what is the use? If you're a civilian and you can't carry that many knives around you, yeah, it's what is the training actually for? Like when I said, like, it's nice to have that stuff, it's fun, but like, what's the practicality for you in your life?
No, right. I know, totally, like the practicality versus everyday life or what have you, regardless of where you live. I mean, you know, it's funny you brought that up about open carry. one of the systems I do and enjoy, not that I embrace the criminality aspect of it, but it's Piper. I just found it fascinating. Their methodology. What's that?
The Piper little, they do that
Yeah,
little.
yeah. I mean, I'm not the shimmers. I take it for what it is. It's more the other stuff I really appreciate from it. But what's fascinating, what you brought up, that whole thing of knowing where it is, because one of the things about Piper is ambush.
Yeah.
So they'll intentionally go to your left, basically they'll intentionally flank your left side, knowing that predominantly got, right-handed, that. So I think you brought up a good point there,
I think because you're mentioning pressure testing and then also Piper, I think realistic situations where you have to defend them yourself, it's ambush and counter ambush. But how do you actually train ambush and counter ambush skills? So I think sparring and pressure testing, it gives you at least access to some of that skill set within a context, rather than just training how to sucker punch people while they're talking.
Yeah, I know. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And if anything, I mean, maybe you're perhaps building on the what ifs and introducing some stress inoculation to it at the same time, I guess,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, though, I mean, how do you, not an easy thing to train for. I mean, ambush, you know what I mean? It's like, I know. Like, I don't care how good or bad you are, man. If it's not your day, it's not your day,
For testing of certain skills, like I know Mabagani on Instagram. You probably see him.
Who's that? I'm sorry. Who's that?
Mabagani on Instagram. He's Brolio, I think, on Facebook. You might see him in FMA, but he posts a lot of cutting videos.
Okay.
But the cutting is kind of like, if you're a sword, knife, or blade guy, that's how you kind of pressure test your skill. Okay. Not like under duress, but like the finesse of your skill. So if you do like an art that does all this cutting stuff, you're practicing with like trainers or whatever. Okay. If you can't cut, even like a static fixed target, then maybe there's something that you need to add.
Yeah, right. If you couldn't cut a static, right? If you can't cut something that stands still or still, yeah.
Smack sticks, padded sticks, live sticks, that's all great. But if you're training a sword art and your cut's like flub, you don't have edge alignment, then, a wounding thing could have been something that could take something off.
But, and then the threat.
And the threat.
No, totally. Yeah, I totally get where you're going from that. We're going to get to some of the things that we talked about in the test run. I thought were really interesting, and some things that really we haven't gone deep into on previous interviews. Some, maybe touched upon things, but not really deep into it. And you mentioned this yesterday: closed door versus open door training. Like, for people maybe who don't know what that means, like, what could you tell them?
So, like, I'm going to say, like, people who have gyms or schools, there's an incentive for them to keep the students coming back. Sure, you have to bring in more instructors. And it's not like you can't have, like, a boxing gym or kickboxing gym. But sometimes we confuse marketing speak with actual like effectiveness. So there's an incentive for people to keep them coming back, month after month, week after week. And for a lot of times, like, closed door training might be similar to, like, that's your Sunday tennis group or that's your knitting circle. You get along because you really enjoy this activity, and you don't necessarily have, like, the monetary aspect to it. And I can't say, like, people, like, it's not like people who do stuff for a living are completely compromised or anything, but once you have somebody in that position of authority and you're giving them money and you're trusting them to give you the good stuff, it can get dicey because, despite me wanting to believe in everyone's best intentions, you have narcissists, you have sociopaths, you have people who want to be worshipped or people who want influence. And one of the questions people might ask is, like, who are you to question my teacher's motivations or my own motivations? I'm like, we should be questioning everybody's motivations, even ourselves.
And questioning everything.
Yeah.
The moment, this is what I tell my students: the moment money's crossing the table, you have a right and you have an opinion to question everything. as long as it's done within, respectfully and all that. But you have the right to question everything, challenge. But as long as it's done, I absolutely. I don't think we do that enough, to be honest with you. We just take for granted, like, well, the man said, so I'm going to do it. You know what I mean?
I was joking, but I'm also half serious when I say, you could be learning something really traditional, but sometimes the really traditional things, you might be looking for Mr. Miyagi, but you're finding a cult leader or you're finding a charlatan.
We're gonna start getting, man. All right, we're starting to get into it, man. Let's so we can tie this into, like, what we brought up yesterday. When entering FMA, what should a potential student look for? So we can kind of tie this all together. So let's get into it. The charlatan, and don't worry, man. I promise I'm not gonna let you get stoned to death.
No, that's fine.
Okay, because it'll be me too with you. I mean, so what's here? I mean, what should students be like? Those who are seeking out FMA for the first time and taking into consideration some of the things you just brought up about the charlatan, the iconic figures. I mean, like, what should they watch out for?
So you should be careful of hero worship. Okay. If people can't acknowledge like limitations in certain things, we're like, hey, what we do here is like stick and sword. If you're looking for gun training, you may want to go over here. If it has everything, that's when I start to get a little leery. It's like, oh, we have that too. It's like, is it good? It could be like the shitty Asian buffet syndrome.
Yeah, like they have everything, but it's
like don't eat the seafood there. Like that's one of those things. Like you have to, and if you're currently like, these are just people with people. So you can have an abusive relationship romantically, in your family, in a training situation. So there's no separation between these things. It's all, it's all relationships. So if it starts getting segmented where it's like, well, because this is some sort of special martial art, I could get treated like shit. It's like, no, it's like, that's one of those things. Like if, and also if there's a lot of controversy around a particular environment, maybe it's just, so you have to look at, if there's all these burned bridges, you got to see who's crossing.
Yeah, that's freaking, no, I mean, if you're seeing, like, right, I mean, I'm not going to name the system, but we all have some familiarity with it. I mean, if you're looking at down chronologically speaking, decades before current status quo, and you've seen numerous separations, I don't know, you might want to think, maybe look at somebody else. I don't know.
It's tough too, because you could have good people and bad people in the mix.
Sure.
Because you could have somebody who's well-intentioned and they have loyalty to somebody, but they may have given their loyalty to somebody who's actually not giving it back.
Yeah.
So you could have somebody who's very like well-intentioned and pure-hearted, and you could be dealing with somebody who's like a narcissist and a charlatan at the top of it.
Yeah.
You could see stuff too. Like if there's an abuser in the school, like say somebody does things, inappropriate contact with children, there could be a discrepancy where somebody's like, man, if I say this, I might have my school closed down. Maybe you should deal with this privately and not have the police.
Yeah.
So there are things you have to be aware of. Like you can't separate this from the rest of your life. If it's a shitty friendship, it's a shitty friendship. If it's a shitty teaching environment, it's a shitty teaching environment.
Yeah. So just, I guess, going back, to the student, with everything today, as far as internet access and all the information literally at our fingertips, I think they just need to do their due diligence. I think they need to ask around. They need to, you know what I mean? Like before you get, I mean, in some cases, if it's the only place in town, I know that can make it tough. Well, you know what? You might want to just invest in traveling, knowing that it's just maybe it could be a better fit for you. You know what I mean? As opposed to maybe taking the easy route because it's down Main Street.
I think if somebody wants to get involved with this, they should also take the long view, right? Where can I have the most longevity and the most gain? Like, can I be playing, rugby my entire life in my 60s and 70s. Like at some certain point, you got to be like slowed down, right? Unless you're like genetically,
a freak or something. Yeah.
But I think if you can see footage of them and they do stuff, there's like, in my opinion, there's like a hierarchy of defense, right? In terms of dealing with force coming into your body, if you can evade, that's the least amount of damage that gets put into your frame. If you can parry, you can like mitigate some of it, or if you roll with the punches. If you block, you're taking that force directly into your frame, and that might get you over time. Or if you just take the hit and do the face block. So
the face block. That was
yeah. So I think yeah, and you have to be kind of skeptical of people telling you certain things, because like, are they the tall tales that my teacher told me? Is this mythology? Is this somebody who is arguing with a scholar online, and the scholar was like, hey man, this is my research, and the other person has a vested interest in a school or line of trainers? Like, you have to look at what drives people to do certain things. So that's my like in something like boxing or MMA, the tail of the tape is how do their students do in competition.
Right, how are they doing? Right, gotcha. Absolutely.
So that's great, because at least you could tell like, okay, what is actually producing certain results, or hey, you could like look at people in the ring. But with FMA or doing tactical training, somebody was like, this stuff works under pressure, but we don't test it under pressure. So it's just like,
And that is such a common thing, unfortunately, in our community.
Yeah.
And but I think more and more exposure is coming to it. I really do. Slowly but surely, I think anyhow, like my biggest thing is, and I've mentioned this before in previous interviews, but just to kind of, piggyback of what you said, like, it's pressure tested, but like you said, they didn't do it. And like empty hand against knife, like, man, you could just tell, like, I'm sorry, that whether they did or didn't, you know what I mean? Like, you just know, like, man, there's no way they pressure test that stuff. They would see the failures so eminent, it's just, man, that's what drives me nuts when it comes to blade, stick, whatever, but knife.
And one of the things, like I've mentioned, like the importance of conditioning is like, illness or poor health might get you faster than some sort of random mass assailant. Like, if we aren't teaching our students to take care of themselves, or we aren't taking care of ourselves, like that's a thing. Like, I know, like I differ from some people traditionally, because, you might see teachers who have bad habits, or like they don't take care of themselves. And one of the things is like, at a certain point, if you're invested in somebody, do you like intervene, or do you argue? Like, if you don't have the space to argue with the teacher, we're like, hey, this is my concern. Maybe, it's just top down. That's the relationship. It's not like,
right. You're not able to freely express yourself, and right. Yeah, right. If you can't do that, that's a tough setting. That would be a tough setting for me. Yeah.
It's tough too, because like Sonny Umpa, like he smoked, right? But part of it too is like, what does somebody actually need to be a functional human being? Like, if they've got PTSD and they have some sort of vice that's, like, who am I to unravel the thread that somebody uses to like tie themselves
where they could actually even teach you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, here it is. Maybe they're relying on that just to be in a setting where they can even conduct themselves to even give to other people.
Yeah. And
that's a tough one. Yeah.
I think, like, overall, like, weapons, tools and relationships all have their ranges, and we don't acknowledge any of that. Like, sometimes you want a lifetime mentor, but you get somebody who can teach you a seminar instead, or somebody who wants to like teach for 6 months in jet, or somebody who just wants your money. Like, if you don't know what kind of relationship you're in, or you can't acknowledge that, or you're confused about it, that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's a separation between, different relationships, or that type of analysis. We need to look at who we're trusting, money and our lives too.
Yeah, and who weren't right putting right and teaching us or whatever, especially right, and like you said, especially revolving around weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some stuff too, because like if you teach somebody to use only the most aggressive thing, then you can land them in jail, right?
I know, like you're not giving the least restricted the most. You're just, I know these whole things that just they go overboard with this whole like, carrying these 6 knives on them, and we're gonna finish the thread. And I mean, depending on the state you're in, man, you might be the one that's gonna end up before explaining yourself to the jurors.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have like a more comprehensive skill set or different options, it's better. Like, if I only had a knife to defend myself, and fuck, I love knives. I literally have like a whole desk full of like all these freaking knives here, but it's not my only go-to. Like I can't, that would be like, oh, somebody pushed me in the chest. Don't just zip them in the freaking.
No, and yeah, exactly. Like that's what I tell you. I know, like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. They called you a name, so you pull it out and show it. Because that's just.
It's like you were rude to me. I guess you get to shit in a bag for the rest of your life. It's like,
come on. I know. I know that. I tell you, it's such a responsibility. It's like, and this has come up on previous episodes where we talked to the responsibility of actually, if you're teaching knife, I mean, like, man, it's definitely, you got to really instill in the students, obviously the legal implications.
Yeah.
Ethical, I mean, moral, I mean, like, you're using this because, man, it's your last resort. I mean, there's 3 people trying to take your life. Okay. But as you mentioned,
it's one of those things too. It's like we encourage our students to do certain things in terms of studying violence. Do you ever encourage them to take a first aid class or do CPR, no hand CPR? Like, is there a balance to it? Or are you just only focusing on the destructive aspect?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because even traditionally, right, you would have arnisadors. Some of them would be helots or herbalists, some people had that skill set where it was like, healing and also, also the destructive part. And I actually think that's one of the things that's lacking in a lot of training too, is you may be doing stuff that breaks your body down, but are you doing like yoga?
Anything to longevity.
Getting body work. Yeah. So you have to think of like, because you gotta live with yourself, right? If you ruin this freaking, ruin the engine or the car frame, like you gotta live with the dinks, you gotta
live with those bumpers falling off while you're driving. Jeez. Man, that's so true. What let's start. You brought this also came up during the test run, and a lot we indirect, whether it's conscious or unconscious or intentful or however it occurs, making icons as some of these FMA notables and instructors. Why do some of the students do this? Why does it happen in your opinion?
Well, I think it's kind of, there's a comfort in being in the passenger seat and letting somebody do the executive decisions, right? It's not fun to be the one that stands up and gets hammered down, right? It's also nice to have like faith in something without testing it or without actually analyzing it. It makes everything easy. But if you're looking at things that involve violence or training or medical issues, if it's too easy, then I would question it. That's another thing for students, right? If everything's tied up in a bow for you, like morals, ethics, tactics, training, I'm like, I have stuff I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think that's a hard thing to... that's one of those things where the more I learn, the more I'm less certain about certain things. It's like when you're a kid and you know it all. Yeah.
and then reality sets in. You're like, oh.
It's like, do you know about love unless you've actually had your heart broken once or twice?
There you go. Yeah, then you know. Then you know. Maybe you didn't realize it then, but you certainly realize it after it happens, right? Oh gosh, we've all been there, huh?
Yeah.
So, how do we? Well, okay, just a second part of this. How do we? So, what do we tell our students? I mean, not to avoid making these people icons. Like, what can we tell our students to, as far as not to do that or not to partake in that? I guess.
So one of the things that I've done is I usually, if somebody comes to me with the expectations of like some sort of learning or consultation, is I give them like a questionnaire. So I'm like, this should be custom to you. This training, what are your concerns? What do you want to deal with? So like they have an idea of how far can you go? What do you have? Are there any kind of physical issues that you're dealing with? They should be thinking of themselves and their families first.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Because otherwise, you're just putting your faith in something and you're hoping it all turns out. I'm like, don't trust my ass. Like,
Yeah, I tell my students, I tell them, I'm not the only source. I mean, do your own homework, research, challenge everything I'm telling you or showing you. I mean, this is your journey. You're the most important piece of the puzzle,
It was funny because one of the big changes for me was when I was learning, like doing Eskrima, really delving in deep. I was having fun, but things didn't start to contextualize until I read a book. Was it Meditations on Violence? And it actually kind of like brought me out of my head, like the martial arts headspace, when I started to look at like, what does it actually look like with actual crime? There's like I'm dealing with solutions and questions that are bigger than just my own concerns. So yeah, sometimes you just got to like kind of get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, if you're a teacher, you have to look at, am I actually providing the best thing for my student? Because sometimes they actually need to go to somebody else. If
they maybe maxed out with you, or just the fit is kind of, not that I've had that happen yet, but right. If you're and a person of integrity, you would do that. You would refer them to somebody else, right?
But some teachers don't have that. They,
No, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have a teacher that's telling you to do different stuff or train with different people, that's not a bad sign. That's a pretty good sign.
I think so because they're embracing freedom and they're embracing that you are the most important. Your journey is more relevant and important than them. I totally agree with that. Totally.
Yeah, if you have a boxing coach and they're like, hey, if you want to do firearms, like you may want to talk to this guy and this guy. Like it's not my forte.
100%. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a few where they try to keep you in a corner and then openly just talk about others. And here's a bad thing, folks are watching. If the teacher openly talks about other people, all that, terrible sign in front of other students. To me, man, that is an immediate like running out the door, man.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, but they're doing it in front of a class setting. To me, that is just that I'm out. That's just a bad. I mean, obviously, more candid conversation behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Occurs, but when it's in an open format full of students, to me, that's an alarm, major alarm right there for me.
And that makes a lot of sense. It's important to be candid, but also to have some sort of measure of like grace with it.
Yeah, I mean, but you're doing, you know why? You know why it really bothers me? A, it might not even be correct what you're saying. B, the story could be, God knows how misconstrued. C, you probably have your own agenda. And D, you might have students in there that don't have the martial art maturity to compare and contrast or have the ability to even recognize or discern what you're saying. I just think it's poor. I just think it's just poor.
And whenever I train with somebody, like I would prefer to have a training group than a class. Let's.
Mm.
I'm not trying to build a cult of personality. Like I would rather be like the friend you drink beer with, and then we shoot the shit over like, hey man, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's my approach. Just because, I don't want people to worship me or anything. I just want them to get good at certain stuff or
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, agreed. All right, you spoke. We already talked about this. Man, time is this is going. I mean, this is like I knew this was going to be really enjoyable, and so far it is. Like again, like I told you, these are my favorites, man. Like guys like yourself who are just willing to share everything and don't really. you know? So you post a few times. You post on your wall and some of the vids and on your YouTube channel, and I thought they were excellent. Like, and the four that you got are, and actually I'm going to kind of list them here. In qualities of force and self-defense, things that we carry, 5 things I wished I knew before I started training, managing conflict, and for self-protection. But I thought they were just really well done, and all that. What was your reason? What was your incentive or inspiration?
So the incentive or inspiration for these was, just the recent awareness of like anti-Asian attacks and stuff, like in America. And a lot of people, like, I've been doing martial arts for like a long time, right? And for the longest time, I was hoping that I was being paranoid or like these skills are fun, but they're not necessary.
Yeah.
More people are seeing that like some of this stuff may be more necessary than they wanted. And I wish I could go back to the days where like, this was just paranoia on my part. Okay. But one of the things that I wanted was for people to have some sort of info or framework that they could just access for free. Maybe in the middle of nowhere, maybe, everything's shut down, but at least this is some of what I use to actually look at something. I'm like, you don't need to pay me shit. You don't even have to agree with me. You don't even have to look at my fucking face. Like, here's something.
Yeah, no, I thought they were excellent. Matter of fact, to folks that are watching here, the YouTube channel is S6 Precision. So S6 Precision, and I highly recommend you. I mean, he's got currently 4 up there, but well done. And I'll post the YouTube channel here also in the comment section. But I thought they were really well done. You plan on doing any more for the folks?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what the next episode should be, because I want to cover stuff that I think is good, and that has like some meaning and some value. And I think even Elric has dealt with stuff like this, where like you teach people that you may be like questioning, like, actually, how do I start off with this person? Like, I don't know even. I have the best intentions for them, but I don't know where to go with them. Right. And part of this is like, hey, I'm like 5'11", 200 something pounds. Like,
you are?
Yeah. So like my life
for Filipino?
Yeah, like I'm like, maybe like
you must be like the giant among wow.
For this martial arts stuff, a lot of times, like, I don't need it for myself, right? It's just I'm not the target, but I've got like, younger family members people who are like in the, they may like adult men weigh like 130, 140. They have an entirely different set of circumstances than I do. Like if I like just check somebody, it'd be like, considerable, but I have to think like they have to do different stuff. Like I can't, they can't rely on like the same physicality or the same tools.
Oh my God, I just posted your channel and Franz just posted. Oh, well, hey, thank you, Franz. Well,
thank you.
People are definitely not going to miss it now, but wow, I would have never guessed you were that. Wow, 5'11". You're like, and how much you weigh again?
Probably about 220, 215 now. And this is like 220, 215 running hills doing burpees. Like I'm
That's awesome. Like I'm 205, 5'11", but
yeah. I'm trying to get a little bit lower. You know, I have to cut out bread, and I've already cut out
I
rice.
know the freaking carbs. I know, man.
Pizza, man.
I know. It's so hard. Like, I know. But that's awesome, man. So, I mean, wow. I hear, you know what? Okay. This is from Eleanor. Can you ask him about bare knuckle skills versus training with boxing gloves? Pros and cons of both.
I'll talk about that. So, yeah, there's a lot of tiny ass bones in your hand. It's super easy to break your knuckles.
Metal carpals, right? Jeez.
So, I remember I've gotten a boxer's fracture before when I was training Shotokan. So this is like, you know, park and rec Shotokan kind of stuff, like the first thing you sign up for. In my teens, they were having us punch phone books, right? Just Shotokan, turning the fist, right? The thing about phone books is that they start to curl once you start hitting them. So I caught my pinky on one and then started to crack it, right? So it's not a makiwara. Makiwara boards are consistently flat, right?
Yeah.
Focusing. So there's a really good channel. I've mentioned this in one of my videos on YouTube with the late Daniel Sombrano. It's called Barefisted, where he's like a Muay Thai guy, like an old school guy, but he talks about hitting without gloves, right?
Okay.
And so one of the things that we like, if you're going to hit above the shoulder girdle, like you're going to hit the head, like if you're hitting below, you're hitting the torso. The torso gives, like, you know, CPR.
Yeah, sure. Pliable. Okay.
So you can turn your fists whatever the hell way you want. It's a weird hand, whatever. But so there's a split jab. So you can, if the head is like a dome, I have this drink container here. It's like a dome, right?
Okay.
If you hit with your palms going flat,
okay,
your knuckles are in a line, like a vertical line, right?
Gotcha.
So you're more likely to ding something circular on a single knuckle. So the boxer's fracture usually happens here where you break
Correct. It. That's why I was told on the pinky and the next finger. Kind of.
Yeah. So there's so you could do a split jab or split punch, or you do a slight angle, which is like a diamond, right? So you could even feel it yourself if you make a really tight fist, and then if you turn your hand over, some people can condition this because, you know, karate training or whatnot, but you make your wrist stiff and then your forearm really tight. The muscle tone is uneven. One side is going to be more contracted than the other. If you go at a slight angle, the tone will be more even on both sides.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you look at some people doing short range shooting, one-handed shooting, they might have a slight cant to their wrist. So that way, if you're hitting here, right? If you do the slight angle, you're trying to lift the neck or lift the jaw or turn the jaw. So you're less likely to land right on the teeth. So yeah, there's a couple different reasons, and it's a really strong angle. Yeah, you have to train a lot of precision too, because without the gloves, you have to do more evasion, and you have to do
covers and
there's not as much covers, so you have to be like way more evasive. You do
right. You're not. I mean, in other words, like using the typical here with the glove on might not be cutting it in bare fist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So even with like a high guard like this, an overhand, which is like chopping down diagonally, will go through.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Or like the Bobby Gun, where it's like the long hook, where he does like a reverse hook.
Yeah.
Or the ear, that'll go.
I know. I mean,
So it's tough. I'd say it's important to know, but like even the professional fighters, right? When they start wearing, once you start wailing, even Stephen Thompson, right? He's broken his hands multiple times doing the turnover fist. So, not saying you can't do it, but you're more likely to get a single knuckle caught on something bony.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez,
Yeah.
man. Well, that was wow. We're coming up. No, this has been absolutely wonderful. We're coming up on an hour and a half here, and I got to teach a lesson. But what do you, I was gonna say there? Where are you located again? San Fran.
So I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm in the East Bay.
Okay.
But yeah, so oftentimes, like I might be doing stuff in the South of Market area, but it's been less often since this. And I do train. Like I have a teacher that I train with that I'm learning from. And yeah, like just wanted to talk. I think the more important part is just like, yeah, if you guys have opinions on any of the videos or what I say, but it's about your intentions first, right? Get your mind right, then get your conditioning, so to get your body right, and then you can kind of train what you want as depending whatever you need.
Yeah, I thought they were. Everyone you posted and you tagged me on, I was thankful. I thought they were great. If you come out with new ones, please continue to tag me. I subscribe to your channel, and so I should get a notification. But I thought they were well done. I really enjoyed them. So what do you, folks that are in the area, man, and if you're in the Bay Area, look this guy up. What are your future goals for you and all? And like now that COVID hopefully is going away, like what are your future goals?
So originally, the S6 Precision channel, like we started it like a couple months ago because me and some friends were thinking about opening up a firearms store in the East Bay, which is really tough. Like in California is not as friendly to some things.
No, I can imagine.
But with this happening, it's like, don't know if it's going to happen or not, just because there's a lot of roadblocks in the way. But since we had the channel up, I was like, okay, let's just start posting stuff immediately.
Okay.
No wait. Whether the store goes through or not, I think I'll still be posting stuff. And what I usually do is like I write down the stuff beforehand, and sometimes it takes a while because they end up being 1,000 words. But yeah, I'll continue posting stuff online, and I think we'll be doing semi-regular classes in the South of Market area, but it's more of just like an informal come in, talk about stuff. I think that's the most important, just to be like, the only agenda is like, okay, we like martial arts, and if anybody is interested, we just kind of talk the same.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, wow. Well, I mean, man, you're I don't know, man. You seem like a cool cat, man. It'd be really neat to meet you one day. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Maybe
we can get together at Blade Show or something. If you can.
Yeah. You know a lot of guys I have on here, but there's, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I've done 169 years, and I enjoy everybody that comes on. There's a few that I really gel with, and those I would really generally like to meet, like Elric.
Yeah.
I would love to meet him. I mean, Elric's had my back on certain things I can't mention here and all that, but just great guy. But I could tell, right, man, me and you would, I think we'd hit it off, man.
I love Elric, and it's funny seeing him with long hair because he always
cut it. Elric, did you cut your hair? I think he cut it. Yeah.
Oh,
I hope I'm right.
Do you like Filipino Jesus? Is that what?
I think the last time we spoke, I hope I'm right in that, but I could have sworn he cut it. The sister's saying you're super cool, so I get that's gotta matter, right? That's gotta count for something, right?
I think she's a little biased, so
we'll take it though. We'll take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Dean. I've just heard really good things, and thank you for like the platform, and then
my gosh, I'm so glad you came on, and thank you also to Elric for even because I mean he basically referred you, and I was like, anybody that makes a reference, I always follow up on it, because again, like, this platform was not built on getting all the huge names on here. It was about getting people doing really great stuff that maybe never had the opportunity to tell their story, and getting more females on here. I mean, anybody, you know what I mean? So, and you fit, man. If you could get Style on here, I know that would be. I know. I tried. Oh, here's the thing. I sent him a message, and guess what? Zero reply.
He's super secretive. It's really funny.
You know, and I didn't take offense to it. I didn't take offense to it. You know, I was told that beforehand that he might not respond. I didn't take personal offense to it. I understand. You know, not
Alex
everybody.
Ursha, if you could get him, Alex Ursha is great.
He was asked, and he respectfully declined.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, but again, I don't take these things personal. I know it's not. You know, I don't. Every time somebody gets asked, I don't expect them to just jump off what they're doing and just come flying on here. I mean, I get it. You know, I mean, the majority of people say yes. They come on. I think I've only had up to date, I think 3 or 4 people that said no.
Oh.
You know, so for the most part, they're coming on. So yeah, I mean, it happens. You know, I don't take it personally, or that's an attack on me, or they don't like me, or something wrong with me. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, both Alex and Style have amazing stories, but maybe I've just been lucky because they've never been.
If you were talking to Alex and he changes his mind, you know what we could do? If you want to sweeten the deal, come on with Alex.
Maybe I'll need to get him.
I'm always got that creative, like, how can I lure some people in here? So if you talk to him, offer him that.
Maybe I could get him lubricated with like Tanduay rum or something.
Yeah,
get a little messy.
He agreed to come on. It's done. We're gonna do it. Man, but all right, my friend, I really appreciate you coming on. This was truly, truly enjoyable. And folks that are watching, check out his channel. Absolutely, like those 4 vids. I thought they were great, really informative. I think you guys are going to enjoy them. So I highly recommend take the time to check them out and all that. And so I'm just waiting for your screen to come back in.
Oh.
All right, here we go. We're back. We're going to jump out. All right, man. Hey, you take care of yourself, all right?
All right, you too.
All right, good talking to you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, I knew that was going to be enjoyable. Those are always my favorites, man. The guys like that, you know. Nothing against any of the big names and all that. I mean, they're amazing, but some guys like this I just find more inspiring. And I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Anyway, if you have not, please subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube. All the money we get, we give it to charity. So we don't keep it or anything. It's all going to charity. And who's next? So Wednesday night, Tom Sotis and Darren Friesen, both of them on together. Both have very similar mindsets as far as methodology, context, and all that. So that should be really enjoyable. So I think me and Tom Pena are doing that together. And so that's going to be during the day. So Wednesday, I believe at 1:30 Eastern time. So if you're in Europe, you should be able to check that out as well and all that. But yeah, I'm really going to be enjoying that. The thumbnail for this video should be just Nino blurred out. Yeah, I think, you know, that's, wow. You know what? I might just take you up on that, friends. That's actually a good idea. But all right, folks, thank you for those who watched and commented. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys Wednesday. Take care.